She let out a scream so sharp it sliced through the morning air. Birds shot up from the trees like they'd been slapped by God himself. Even nature seemed to say, "Nope, not dealing with this today." Karen's ridiculous sun hat caught the wind and spun into the sky as she stumbled backward into the lake, limbs flailing like a drunken flamingo trying to dance in a hurricane. I was on my porch, sipping my lemonade, when I heard the splash, that familiar sound of trouble blooming right where it didn't belong. Before I could mutter, "Oh, not again," I saw it. A ripple cut through the still surface of my private lake, sleek, low, and fast. A living torpedo, coming straight for her. Just above the waterline, 2 eyes shimmered, cold focused, locked on Karen like she'd been put on the menu days ago. The crocodile had been waiting, patient, hungry. Karen, in all her HOA-certified arrogance, had wandered straight into a death trap. Her community-issued flip-flops were the first to float by. Then came her scream, high-pitched, frantic, the kind that only dogs and demons could truly hear. She tried to slap the water like it had personally insulted her, slipping deeper with every move. The gator surged. She froze. Its jaws snapped inches from her arm. So close, I saw the moment terror finally cracked her pride. That was when it hit her. All my warnings weren't passive-aggressive neighborly nags. They were survival guides. And she'd ignored every last one. I dropped my drink and bolted. By sheer panic or miracle, Karen clawed her way to the muddy embankment, a nasty gash streaking down her thigh. She collapsed, paralyzed with shock. The croc wasn't done. It lunged again, this time snagging the hem of her sundress. No time to think. I grabbed the emergency flare from the porch, lit it, and hurled it with everything I had. FSSSSSSD. It hit the water like thunder, hissing, sizzling, smoking, a burst of red light and fury. Chaos broke loose. Thrashing water, terrified shrieks, and a reptile retreating with a reluctant splash. Karen lay there, gasping, soaked, scraped, and dripping in lake muck. Her dignity? Charred medium rare. Pride never did hold up well under fire. But before we dive deeper into this disaster, welcome to Prodigy Tales. Be sure to like and subscribe for your premium dose of petty, poetic, HOA-fueled drama. Now, let's rewind. Because this lake, it wasn't supposed to be a battlefield. I built this home for peace, stocked the lake for wildlife, kept the water serene, and made it crystal clear. Private property. But rules mean nothing to someone who wears their HOA presidency like a royal crown. Karen's invasions started small. A photo here, a wine glass there. Then it snowballed. Next thing I knew, she was hosting yoga sessions at the water's edge, acting like some suburban Poseidon in stretch pants. It began with the parasol. Huge, obnoxious, candy-striped pink and white, like she'd stolen it from a defunct circus. She stabbed it into my lakeside soil, unfolded her chair, and lounged with the smug satisfaction of someone who just claimed a new world. I walked over, calm but firm. "Karen, this is private property. You're trespassing." She didn't even flinch, just sniffed and said, "Technically, if the lake spills into the community's easement, that grants us shared recreational use." All while sipping from a wine tumbler that said, "Boss Babe." My eye twitched. I knew she'd invented that law in real time. I told her exactly that. She just smiled wider. "Then why don't you consult the HOA legal committee?" she said. "Oh, wait, that's me." From that moment, she made it her mission to colonize my shoreline. Week by week, it escalated. First came the folding chairs, then friends with casseroles, then paddleboards. I once caught her blasting meditation music while guiding a breathwork circle of matching Karens in Live Laugh Lake tank tops. I asked her again politely to leave. Her reply, "Don't be so hostile. Nature belongs to all of us." The hypocrisy stung. This was the same woman who fined neighbor for wind chimes that dare to jingle past 9 p.m. And yet she saw no problem turning my sanctuary into her HOA playground. She strutted onto my property like it was her personal stage, dragging her whole emotional support brunch brigade behind her. Matching yoga mats, pastel sun hats, and enough mimosa energy to power a suburban cult. My backyard, my land, had somehow been rebranded as a wellness retreat, and Karen was the self-appointed guru of lakeside enlightenment. So I did what any sane landowner would do. I put up signs. Big ones. Bright red, bold letters. Private lake. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. 2 days later, she taped one of her pastel flyers over it. It read, HOA Sunset Meetup tonight. Bring rose and good vibes. In glitter pen. Every time I confronted her, she dismissed me like I was being unreasonable. You're overreacting, she'd laugh, like I wasn't watching my rights disappear under a pink picnic blanket. So I started keeping receipts. Photos, videos, timestamps. Not just for legal reasons, though those were stacking up, but because I knew she was going to go too far. It wasn't a matter of if, only when. And oh, the crocodile? That wasn't the twist. That was just nature's version of an eviction notice. Her final act of insanity came on a muggy Saturday morning. Karen, in all her delusion, decided it was time to inspect the water, not with a net, not with a simple stroll. No, she dragged a full-size, two-seat wooden canoe down my dock. Taped to the back, a sad little flag she made herself that said, HOA Waterway. She even brought a clipboard, like she was conducting some official audit of the aquatic ecosystem, probably a file or a report on the fish. I walked out with my phone recording. Karen, I called, get off my dock. This is private property. She barely glanced over her sunglasses. Just conducting a neighborhood water quality survey. She said, voice soaked and smug. You're in my lake, from my dock, in a canoe, with no life vest. She waved me off like I was interrupting sacred government business and began paddling away, the canoe creaking like it was protesting every stroke. I stood there, stunned, watching her make clumsy circles near the edge of the reeds. And then, there it was, a ripple, long and deliberate, cutting through the water, slow and sharp. I knew that ripple. I respected that ripple. Unlike Karen, I understood what lived in those shadows. The crocodile had stirred. Karen, meanwhile, leaned over the side, trying to dip her Starbucks cup into the water like she was collecting holy samples. That's when the canoe jolted. She screamed. The cup dropped. The tail hit the surface with a loud slap. Panic. Paddling. Flailing. The canoe spun. The crocodile lunged. The boat tipped. Karen went overboard, arms thrashing like a blender in reverse. I ran. No, flew. To my ATV, tires spitting gravel as I gunned along the lakeside. Her shrieks pierced the trees. The croc was closing in, gliding fast. I ditched the ATV, dove into my fishing boat, and cranked the motor. The engine roared to life as I tore across the water, locked in on her like she was a life-or-death mission. I reached her just as she started to go under, grabbed the soaked straps of her sundress, and yanked her into the boat. Her leg was bleeding where the croc's teeth had scraped her. Her body shook. She coughed, cried, cursed, and you'd think that would be the moment she realized maybe, just maybe, she'd pushed things too far. But Karen had one more stunt. The ambulance hadn't even finished backing out when she flipped the script. Lying there on the stretcher, mascara streaming down her cheeks, mud smeared across her legs, and pride left somewhere at the bottom of the lake, she looked the EMT straight in the eye and said, he never warned me. I had no idea there were crocodiles in his lake. I stood 6 feet away, holding the waterlogged clipboard she dropped mid-chaos, teeth marks and all. And that, my friends, is when I knew this wasn't over. She was trespassing with her whole emotional support brunch squad, acting like my land was some kind of wellness retreat. So, like any sane person would, I put up signs, big ones. Private lake, no trespassing. Karen just taped a pastel flyer right over one of the signs. It read, HOA Sunset Meetup tonight. Bring rose and good vibes. Every warning I gave her, she brushed off with a giggle and a dismissive, you're overreacting. I started documenting everything, photos, videos, timestamps, not just for legal backup, but because I knew she was going to push it one step too far. The crocodile? That wasn't even the twist. That was nature finally fed up with her entitlement. And let me tell you, she kept pushing right up until the day she almost became swamp seasoning. Here's how Karen officially lost her damn mind. She decided to launch a canoe. Not a kayak, not a little inflatable raft, a full-blown, two-seat wooden canoe from my dock, with a ridiculous little flag taped to the back that said HOA Waterway. She even brought a clipboard on board, like she was conducting some official regulatory inspection of my fish. I walked out, phone in hand, recording. "Karen, get off my property." She looked over her sunglasses and said, "I'm just performing a water quality audit for the neighborhood. You're in my lake, in a canoe you launched from my private dock." I added, "You're not even wearing a life vest." She waved me off and paddled off like some kind of budget Pocahontas. I stood dumbfounded as her little boat creaked around the edge of the lake. Then I saw it, the ripple, a long, slow wake slicing to the water toward her canoe. I knew about the croc. He wasn't mine, obviously, just a natural inhabitant I respected and gave a wide berth. He lived in the reeds, didn't bother anyone who didn't bother him. But Karen? Karen had a knack for disturbing things. Loud music, bright colors, big gestures. She was like a siren call for karma. She leaned over the side, probably trying to take a water sample with her Starbucks cup, when the canoe jolted. She shrieked and dropped the cup. I saw the croc's tail slap the water. She tried to paddle backwards, but her strokes were panicked and flailing. Then came the real chaos. The croc lunged. She screamed. The canoe tipped. She went overboard, thrashing like a blender. I sprinted to my ATV and gunned it around the lake's edge. Her shouts echoed as the croc closed in. My docked fishing boat was just around the bend. I threw myself in, cranked the motor, and sped toward the splash zone like a one-man Coast Guard. She was paddling with her arms, crying for help. I could see the water churning behind her. That beast was not playing. I got there just in time, pulled her up by the straps of her soaked dress, and floored it back to shore. She was coughing, crying, soaked, and bleeding with a croc scrape her leg. And you'd think that would have humbled her. But Karen? Oh! She had one more trick up her soggy, entitled sleeve. The ambulance hadn't even cleared the gravel when she started spinning her tail. Lying on the stretcher, soaked to the bone, leg wrapped tight, mascara smeared down her cheeks, Karen looked the EMT dead in the eye and said, "He never warned me. I had no idea there were crocodiles in his lake." I was standing 6 feet away, still holding the soaked clipboard she dropped in the canoe, which, by the way, had teeth marks all over it.